Everyone, welcome back. In my last video, I have covered lists. So this time, let's learn something about tuple, which is one of the sequentials data type available in Python. So here are the key properties which a tuple can have. So it allows us to store collection of data, and it is an ordered collection, which means that all the items defined in the tuple have their some defined order, which we cannot change it. And at the same time, it is an immutable collection, which means the once the tuple is created, we cannot add, remove, or change its item from it directly. And it allows us to add duplicate items. It holds items of any data type, and one tuple can hold items of different data types in one variable. It also behaves and works with indexing, so we can go ahead and use index to access the elements of the tuple, and the starting index would be 0 here. So let's quickly jump onto the Jupyter notebook and see how we can perform all these things in action. So I'm on my Jupyter notebook, and let's see how we can define. So this is how the way you can define tuple. The one thing you should notice, it is like a round bracket around it. So if you are putting a square, it's a list. If you're putting a round, it's a tuple. And this mechanism is called the packaging of tuple. So whenever you are creating a tuple and putting item into it, this is called the packaging phase, or you can say packaging a tuple. Now, if you want to, let's say you have another tuple. Before that, I can quickly show you how we can. So using the type, you can have a look what this collection is. So you can see that this is showing that the toys is a tuple. Now next I can show you one more important thing is, let's say I have another tuple named toy. Sorry for the typo. And here I have just defined one item. Now if I will go ahead and say print type of toy. So what do you think it will do? Instead of giving me tuple, it is saying that this is a string. Now there is only single item, and it is not possible for Python to understand whether it is a string or a tuple. So if you want to recognize this particular variable as a tuple, then you need to mention a comma at the end. So it means whenever there is a single item in your tuple, always make sure to append comma at the end. Now if you will go ahead and say run, you will see that now it is of type tuple. So this is how we can do it. Next thing is, let's say how we can access the items in the tuple. So as it is indexing based, it's quite easy to fetch any item. Let's say you want to access ball, which is at index 2, and you also want to, I'm so sorry, and you also would like to access the items from the right hand side. So if I will run this thing, what you will see is 0, 1, 2. So ball is on the second index, so you can see ball here, and minus represents the tracking from the right hand side. So it will start from here and it will see number 1, number 2. So minus 2 represents Barbie. So that's the reason you can see that the ball and Barbie are printed with minus as well as without minus. Now let's say you want to print items from 2 to 4. So how can we do that? Print toys 1, which is my starting index, which is inclusive, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the second index, I mean the ending index. So here I can expect my output to be bat, ball, and Barbie. Let's see. You can see that bat, ball, and Barbie, because 1 represent this index and 4 represent this, but the ending index is always exclusive. That's the reason Teddy is not part of our output. Now let's talk about few more things. Let's say print toys. Now you want to access item till the third index. So in that case, starting index is by default 0. So you need not to mention 0 again. Rather, you can just say 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So it means we are expecting output till here. So let's see. You can see that car, bat and ball are appearing here. Now similar thing we can do it for the right hand side item also. So let's go ahead and say toys, and starting index I am defining as, let's say, 1, but ending index I am not defining it. So it means it will pick from first until end. So you can see bat, ball, Barbie and Teddy. This is how we can get it printed without mentioning index each and every time. Let's say now you want to check if a given item is available or present in your tuple or not. So for that we will use if condition. So don't worry so much about it. It's just to give you a gist. Anyways, I will be having a separate video on what are conditionals, if else and all those. So let's say I want to check if ball is present in my tuple toys. Then I will go ahead and I want to print yes. So you can see that yes, ball is in toys, so that's why it is printed yes. And one more thing you may notice here is the indentation. So this is one of the most important thing in Python and you need to take care of it. So if indentation is wrong, you may not get the expected output, or in fact you will get the error while compilation itself. Okay, so now let's talk about how we can change the value for a given tuple which is already created. So like I mentioned, tuples are unchangeable. It means once a tuple is created, we cannot change it. But if your business requirement really needs so, there is a workaround. So what you can do is, first you can convert the tuple to a list, change the list, and then convert the list back to the tuple. This is the way how you can get your tuple updated. So let's see and how we can do that. So this is my tuple. Now I want to add another new item in the same toys collection. So how I can do that? So the very first thing I need to do is I need to convert it into a list, and that conversion I can do it using list and pass it toys here. So this line will convert your tuple to a list. Now we can go ahead and do whatever we want with our list. If you want to append, we can use the append, and here you can provide the new toy name. So let's go and say new toy. So now it is already added to the list. The final thing which we need to do is we need to convert our list back to tuple. So variable for a tuple, and then you can write tuple here and pass in your list. Let's go ahead and print toys and see if it is reflected. So you can see that new toy has been added here. Similarly, if you want, you can remove the items from the tuple. In the same fashion, instead of append, you just need to provide the remove. So I will quickly show you in a while that. The next thing is how can you add two tuples. Let's say you have two different tuples. Tuple 1 is this, and tuple, and there is another tuple named toy, and here we have some toy. Okay, now you want to add toys 2 to toys 1. How can you do that? Okay, so here, like, again we need to mention comma here because we want this to be treated as a tuple. So what we can do here is we can go and perform the append the way we have done just above and get the things done over here. One more thing I would like to show you is, let's say toys plus equal toys 2 print toys. Let's see how it goes. So now we can say that if you have two different tuples, you can combine them or you can merge them to the first one. This is how we are doing it. So this is my first tuple and I'm adding the second tuple's item to the first one using just the plus sign, plus equal. So you can see that the sum toy is now part of this one. Similarly, let's say if you have two tuples and you want to join them and create the third tuple. So how we can do that? So let's first create these two tuples. And I want the resultant tuple to hold items from both these tuples. So that's pretty straightforward how we can join. You just need to put plus sign here and print result. So you can see that now everything is part of our new collection, which is result, and these are intact. Nothing has changed in that. So even you can multiply the values of tuple. So let's say this is your tuple and you want to twice these items. So what you can do is, so you can see that now each and every item is appearing twice, and we know that tuples do support duplicates. So this is how we can create duplicate of it. Now the way we have performed the append operation, similarly we can do the remove. I will copy it here to save the time. So this is our tuple, and this is the line which is converting tuple to a list, and here instead of append I want to remove it, and what I want to remove is I want to remove bat from the list. So just call the remove method and convert your list back to a tuple. So you will see that your tuple is updated now. Now let's try out to one more thing. Let's say you want to delete the tuple completely. So there is a del keyword which you can use and print toys. So it should give you an error that it is not defined because we have already deleted the toys tuple. Now one more thing which I need to mention here is unpacking a tuple. So till now we were adding values to the tuple, but now let's see how we can extract values back into the variables. And extracting values into a variable is called unpacking of a tuple. So I can take an example here. Let's say this is our tuple, and I want to access let's say car, bat, ball. I can short it out actually. It will save our time. So let's say we have 3 items in this tuple, and now I need to create 3 variables, variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, and here I can say toys. Okay, next thing is I can go ahead and print v1. Similarly I can go ahead and print v2 as well as v3. So you can see that whatever the values were there, those were extracted in these 3 variables, v1, v2 and v3, and you can easily extract what is in v1, what is in v2, and similarly you can get the v3 printed, and you will get all the values which are in the tuple. Now let's say, and the important thing which you need to consider is you should have these matching. Let's say if I'm just giving let me define it again, v1 comma v2, and here I am saying toys, then I am saying print v1. So you will see that it is complaining about some parameters, and the reason why it is complaining is because there are 3 items in our tuple, but we are trying to grab only these 2 here. So the count of the parameters should match with the items in the tuple. So that's the reason when I gave you example I mentioned you 3 variables, because there were 3 items in this. Now let's talk about few more variations of this unpacking. So let's say this is my tuple, and here I am interested in mentioning each and everything, or let's say we have few more here, Teddy, and here I can mention Barbie. So there are so many items, and in fact there could be many more when you are dealing with real life examples. So how can you get rid of all these parameters? Every time you are not interested in fetching each and every value of your tuple, right? So what you can do is you can define variable 1, you can give any name here instead of v1, and v2, then I am saying star v, let's say, or you can give even all this, and next I am going to print v1, and I can show you what is in this v. So this time you can see that I have defined 2 variables. It means these 2 values will be in these 2 variables, v1 and v2, and rest all will be in this v. That's the reason I have mentioned here star. So when I printed here v1, I got this car, but when I printed v, I got rest all values which is ball, teddy, and Barbie. Similarly, there is one more variation. What if you will put star in the middle rather than at the end? So let's grab the same example of toys, and this time we are taking something like this, v3, and here define this print v1, print v2, and we will also take a look at v3. Now what is happening here is, here I am defining star. It means the first value will be car, which is in v1, and the last value Barbie, which is in v3, and rest all values would be part of v2. So now you can see that this time for v2 we got the remaining items, bat, ball, and teddy, and these v1 and v3 are holding individual items. So this is how we can play with star, asterisk sign you can say, and get your tuple accessed. Now a few more things, some important functions which you can use is, let's say you want to find the length or how many items are there in your tuple. So you can do it using length, len function, and you can also use the count. So let's say this is your collection, and here I am defining car as 2 times. Now I want to know, we can say count C is equals to toys dot count, and I want to know how many cars are there, print C. So if you want to know how many given items are there, then you can use the count. So in my collection there are 2 cars, that's the reason it has printed 2 over here. Similarly, you do have a index method. Let's say you want to know the index of any item in your collection. So you can say index equal to this and print index. So you will see the bat which is at index 1, and you got the answer as 1. So that's pretty much I have for tuples. I will see you in next video with range. Till then, keep watching. Thank you.